Welcome to today's masterclass on the incident module. With respect to this module today, we'll walk through sort of the functionality across all levels within the system. As we have gone through in past masterclass sessions, the hierarchical approach of Safety Champions is important to walk through with regards to the module so that you can understand functionality and how things are intended to work. When we look at the organisational level, which is the green level on this chart in front of you, this is the level of access that senior management and management will enter the system to be able to view all of the tasks and activities that are being undertaken in the workplaces below them. This is where they will be, or these users will be advised of incidents that have occurred by email if those permissions have been switched on, for incidents that are reported at the organisational level, or incidents that are reported at an individual workplace or a worker level within the system. The organisational level will also see the incidents on the incident register for the organisation should they have access to the organisation, as well as the workplaces and the worker levels that they have been provided with the permissions to access. When we move down to the workplace level, which is the blue level in the picture in front of you, at this level, incidents that are reported by the worker level or at the workplace level are captured at the workplace level. Incidents that are reported at workplace one will only be visible by users within workplace one, as well as the organisational users who have access to that workplace. The users in workplace 2 or 3 in this instance won't see the incidents, or nor will they be reported or receive emails of the incident occurring. As we go down to the worker level, this level here is read-only access in the sense, or report-only access, I should say, in the sense that if an incident is reported by a worker, that will then be communicated by email to the workplace users as well as the organisational users. The worker level users won't see your incident register. They will just be able to report them into the system. Now, there is functionality that you will see. There's an assign button at that workplace level. So if you do want a worker to support the investigation, you can assign that investigation sequence to them for the worker to be able to complete, but they will require sign-off permissions. If we move back up to the organisational level, one of the key features and functionality that we're going to walk through in today's masterclass is the ability for you to configure and set up incidents at your end. So to do that, again, users who have been provided with more VUP permissions will be able to move from the organisational level up to the power user level, which is the red script and the picture in front of you. And at that level, the user will be able to change the name of the module, change the drop-down fields within the module, and also be able to create some custom questions. So we'll walk through all of this in today's session. So we've got a bit to cover, so we'll sort of get started. So we'll just share my screen. So I will log in at the organisational level. So when I log in at the organisational level, what you will see is the dashboard, which you see when you log into the system. And this covers all of the tasks that have been generated within the system. So you can see down the side here, tasks across all modules, but importantly, you can see incidents. So where you do see an incident in here, what it does represent is that an incident has been reported and the investigation hasn't been closed out or completed. Now, when we want to report an incident, there are 2 places that you can report an incident. Recently, we've included these quick or fast buttons. So if you want to report an incident, you can select on the report an incident button in the header, and it'll take you directly to the incident report form. Alternatively, if I go back home, I can select on the hamburger button in the top left-hand corner, go down to the incident module, and then over in the top right-hand corner, we can see report an incident. So we can click on here and report the incident. The screen that we land on when we go into the incident module is the incident register. So this will provide an overview of all incidents that have occurred across your organisation. The workplace name here identifies the level that the incident was reported. So because I'm logged in at the moment at ABC Warehousing, which is the company name in the demo site that we're working through today, the incident's reported here. If we look to morph down, we'll see that we've got 3 other sites, Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney. So if the incident was reported at Melbourne, Sydney or Brisbane, you'll see that they're located here. So we want to report an incident at a workplace rather than the organisation as an organisational user. And we might want to do that because we want the the workplace user to receive the email. Then what we will need to do is we'll need to morph down to the workplace and create the incident from here. So again, I can create it from the report an incident, or I can go through the module. And this will now represent the incident register for Melbourne, which we can see up at the top. So we might go through, we might process an incident just to walk you through the workflow. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and show you how you can configure the system yourself. So with regards to reporting an incident, what we've done here is we've made the incident report very simple and very easy for people to complete. And the form expands depending on the responses that you make. So with regards to date of incident, again, what we can't do is we can never forward date an incident, but we have allowed people to backdate. So if you do find out of an incident sort of a day or 2 after it's occurred, again, you can put the appropriate date into the system. So let's for this instance, say that we had something reported 2 days ago. We can put a time of the incident, might have happened at 9 AM. The person reporting. So the system knows who's actually entering it into the system because this name here will be captured. So I'm going to put in that one of our workers have told us about the incident. And a brief overview might be worker slipped when entering reception. The location of the incident. Again, this can be a drop down if we configure it in the back end. However, if we don't have any fields in there, it'll be a free text box. And this will align with the text that makes sense for yourself as an organisation. The type of incident, again, there are 4 options here. So if it's a near miss, this represents typically an incident where a person hasn't been injured. How in this instance, we're going to say that first aid was provided. And we see when we select on first aid being provided, that there are a few options to display now. So injured person's role, also name of the first aid officer, and was the workplace cupboard stocked. So we're going to say it's a worker who was injured. Again, now within the system as well, this is functionality that you can switch on or switch off, is the auto search. So when we type in a name of a person, again, we can attach this incident against the person's name. Now, if you do search for a name and you can't find the person, you can select on manual input. And again, sometimes that may happen if there are misspellings or people use sort of shortened names compared to the name that might be sort of within the system. You can also include multiple people if there are multiple people that did get injured. So we go through, we can upload the mobile number of the injured person. So again, that's not a required field. We'll see required fields all have the asterisk, so we might skip that. Injury description, again, this is all configurable as well. So we might say that it was an upper limb injury, that was a bruise, and it was the right wrist. And if there are multiple injuries, so it might be the leg, might be a laceration to the knee. We might sort of say minor abrasion. So we can add it to multiple injuries as we like. Again, these will be stacked here. If we want to, we can put more information. The lacer on the knee was minor. Did prior addressing. Again, these questions here, and we'll show you as we move into the configuration, are custom questions. So these are questions that have been defined through the power user as to additional information that, that you want to receive as part of the incident report. So the name of the first aid officer might be Jade. Jade Ming. Was the first aid cupboard stocked? Yes. Was there property and environmental damage? Again, yes or no. So we might sort of say no. What happened? Walking to work. It was raining. Slipped on leaf. Name of the witness, if we want, we can put it in there. We can also select files. So we go in there and we might take a picture of the floor. Again, if we're doing this incident report on a phone, it'll directly go to our camera. If we narrow the screen as well, oh, I've just lost my screen there. Apologies about that. As I narrow the screen, what you'll see is that the incident report form, rather than stacking question, answer horizontally, it's now presenting vertically. And that's what it will display on your phone or on a tablet, depending on the size of your tablet. If you download the app, this is also the way it will display. I'll take this out as well just for a moment and I'll bring it back. So if I try to submit an incident now, what we'll notice is that any required fields will be highlighted so that your users are directed as to what they need. But I'll put that back in there and submit the incident. When we submit the incident, we'll notice that incident number 140 has been created. We'll see this now being listed on the register. And because we've listed this in Melbourne, when we click on home and we type in 140, we'll see incident 140 being displayed here. Now if we morph up, so now we're at the organisational level. We can tell that by ABC Warehousing being here. Type 140 in. Again, we can see the incident and we can see it's been related to Melbourne. So what that means is if we go then to Brisbane, for example, and we type 140 in here, the incident won't display because it's a Melbourne-based incident. Go to the incident register, and again, we'll see that they can't see 140. So it's very important to understand that the incidents, if they are reported at the worker level, workplace level, will only sit with the workplace that the worker or the workplace user sits under, as well as the organisation. So with regards to that incident, there are two places that we can sign it off. So we can go and sign it off off the dashboard, or we can sign it off within the module. There's a little sort of variation into the command here. So rather than sign off, it's annotated as close. So we can click close, and this will take us to the investigation form. Now, with regards to the investigation form, what we can see is the date of incident occurred 2 days ago, but the system will capture when it was reported into Safety Champion. So this is the date that's reported. If we hover over this, it'll provide you with those instructions. It also lets us know the name of the person who reported the incident, as well as their username credentials. So Alan Harvey up here is the user who's entered it. So when you are reporting the incident, if someone, sometimes there's a level of confusion. If someone gives you a form and I, Craig, am reporting the incident to Safety Champion, I can put the name and the details of the person who provided me the form. They can be captured, but also the system's going to capture me, Craig, who entered the system, entered the information into the system. So you'll capture both details there. As I go through the details here, we'll see that the usernames the workers who we assign the incident to. So if we click on their information, their profiles will display, depending on the information that sort of is in there. And in this instance here, if we see that the worker has been associated with other incidents, again, they will be displayed sort of down the bottom here. So again, it's a way of being able to identify, are there consistencies in sort of injuries that may be occurring to particular individuals within your organisation. The attachments will sort of show up, and then we'll come to the investigation sort of stage. So with regards to the completion date, the system will limit you to close the investigation out in between the date that it occurred and today's date, which makes sense, which prevents you from you or your users from putting in incorrect dates when you're closing out the investigation. So I can't forward date an investigation closure, and I can't backdate it before the incident occurred. So I'm going to select today, go through some questions. Were controls established? Yes. We looked at our controls and everything was in place. Maybe we might say no. What changes can be prevented? Maybe we can sort of say there's a umbrella bag at the front. It's in place. And we might also want to place a wet floor sign. And this is not in place. So have these changes been implemented? In this instance, if we say yes, we continue, but we're going to say no. It's going to allow us to create an action. So the action again will be aligned to the dates of the incident occurring. We're going to say the person reporting, Craig, generated by an incident. Again, this drop down is configurable by the action module. We want to close that out by the end of November. Person responsible. We can put email contacts, please purchase wet floor sign. If we want to upload a photo of an example, we could, otherwise we can submit. Now we've created an action for this incident. So what this means is that when we do now go and close off the incident, the action that we identified as part of the investigation will also be managed. What was the highest level of control achieved? Again, this is configurable within the module. So we're going to sort of say signage. Was it an LTI? Yes, maybe in this instance. And this will allow us to run LTI reporting. But again, this is where if you're LTI, MTI, first aid treatment injuries, all that can be captured sort of within this sort of drop down. What hazard best represents the incident? Again, a slip, trip and fall, incident severity. Again, if we're not sure what high, medium, low means, we can select from the risk matrix. And again, this can be configured to align with your business's risk matrix. So in this incident, we might have it as a medium. Was external notification required? So one thing people often ask is, how do I run reports on workers' comp incidents or notifiable incidents? So this is where we've built it into the system. So external notification required, yes or no. If we say yes, again, an external body button runs up. If we don't need to externally notify anybody, then there's no action that's presented. So we say yes, we click on the external body. Maybe we needed to let the workers' comp agent know in this instance. Again, the dates will be aligned with the incident occurring in today's date. And we might put the reference in here. And we might also need to let the someone else know. This might be the area manager or security, maybe security. We'll let security know. Date of incident, I told Jeff that someone slipped. Whatever information or comment we need to put in there. We can return and that information's in the system. Now we can save, and this allows us to come back to the investigation. So you don't need to do it in one foul swoop as I've just done then. But if you have done it, then you can click on sign off. And what we'll see down here is that the action's created and we're getting told that the incident's been signed off. So incident 140, which we've just completed, sits here. We select on view. We can see the incident report. Again, we can view the pictures or the images that were created. We can investigate the user details. We can look at the investigation. Again, we can see the corrective action. So corrective action 179, which has been generated. We can see that information. If we want to see more details, we click on that here and we can sort of see where it's up to, and we can see that this one's still in progress. More information about the corrective actions can be sort of viewed through the corrective action masterclass. And one of the other things that we do have, another tab that we have up there, so incident report, investigation. We also have the investigation log. So again, this is effectively a file box. So if there are notes or there are records or there are witness statements or conversations or things that are associated with the incident or the investigation that you want to capture against the incident or the investigation, click on add new record. put the name in, description, and select a file. You don't need to, the only required field here is the title. Again, so you can put a title in and then potentially just text, put a title in and just a photo or a record, or you can put a title in and you can put in both. So it's up to yourself to manage that. So that's the incident reporting workflow. Now, if I quickly just go back to the investigation, we can see 179, just for comfort at your end. Again, 179. Again, we can see that the corrective action has been created. Now, the reason why I want to point this out is because we were signing off the investigation at the organisational level, this corrective action has been created at the organisational level. So if you are wanting the corrective action to be at the workplace, because that's where the incident occurred, then you'll need to morph down and sign the incident off at that level. That corrective action is also now on the register here. Oh, sorry, the one below it, 179. So I'll go home. Now, staying with the incident reporting module, often what we do find is people will say that there's an incident that has been reported at the organisation that might need to be allocated to a workplace, so it's been incorrectly sort of placed. Again, if we want to move an incident, I'm going to move 139. So we click on View. Again, we can click on Move, which is up near the edit permission, and then we can select the workplace that it goes. So we might say we might move this to Brisbane, move, and now 139, when we go back, is now against Brisbane. Likewise, if we needed to move it between Brisbane and Melbourne, then we go View, Move, and Melbourne, and Move. So we go back, we'll see that the incident now is sitting in Melbourne. Now for this incident 139, with both those moves, we do have an update log. So this is letting us know where it was moved. So we moved initially from the ABC warehousing to Brisbane. We also then moved it from Brisbane to Melbourne. This other is an edit which occurred, which I'll show you now what the edit function can do. So when I do move, the system will capture sort of those moves by who and when. If I go to edit, and let's say that I want to edit the person reporting this, so it's Michael Smith, that might be the only edit that I make. If I go through and click on submit an incident, again, a comment's required. So updated name, Michael Smith, and then submit that report. So now when I go down to the bottom, again, it's cascading in order of change. It's got the change now. It's updated name, Michael Smith, and we can see that Michael Smith is in here. So that, with regards to the workflow, is how the incident module works and operates. Now, what I was keen to also show you is configuration. It's sort of super important. So if we go to administration, again, if you've got morph up permissions, then you'll see this orange button in the top right-hand corner. You click morph up, click on manage, which is your organisation, and then select the organisational details or workplace profiles. Now, I'm on the organisational details here. And as we mentioned in the administration module, when a lock is attached, it means that that you can change the profile and the organisational details will align with the profile. So you might have multiple profiles, as an example here. Now, when I go to the organisational profile for incident in the demo example, we can see that these locks have been broken. So we're going to need to make the changes here. So what I mentioned beforehand is there's a lot of functionality. So you can change the name, incident accident. You can change the days that the investigation needs to be completed in. You can change the category list. So near miss, first aid, medical treatment, hospitalisation. If you wanted to add something that sits between near miss and first aid, for example, a minor injury, again, we click on plus, might be minor injury, and we can add a description. This is an injury where no first aid was required. We can also include the injured person details. So if we don't check this box here, the incident, when we do complete the incident, we do select minor injury, it's not going to ask for the name of the injured person. Now what I can do now is I can move it into the right order, which sort of makes logical sense. Now if there's a minor injury, what I mentioned beforehand, when I selected first aid, there were two questions that were asked: name the first aid officer and was the first aid cupboard stocked? So what we can do here is create custom questions. So for minor injury, if I click a custom value, I might want to ask, I think I've just closed down my screen. So let me just, that's exactly what I've done. So I've hit some shortcut. Let me just go back in. So I'm going back into the system now because I haven't saved. The change I had made won't. So I'll go back and make them again. I will put the date in, update the date. The category list is something we updated to minor injury. I'll include injured person's detail. And I'll move it up into place. So back to where I was before I closed the screen down. So I'll click on custom values. Again, the question I might want to have here is, why was first aid not provided? And they might have selected minor injury because there was no first aid officer available. So there might be information that we want to ascertain. Again, we can choose the type of field. So we might choose text. Do we want to make the field mandatory? So every time they complete this, do we want them to fill that out? We might say yes. Create. Now we can create as many questions as we want. What colour was the blood? Again, we can go down and we can choose a colour field if we wanted to. We might not make that mandatory because, again, there might be no blood involved. So this has been a bit facetious, this question, but just trying to sort of present how you can choose different field types. So now I've created two questions. So I'm going to close out of here and we'll see that those two questions have been created, one with a text field, one mandatory, and one with a colour field. Again, we can go through the system, so create custom values. So if there are things that we haven't included in the system that you want to capture, so often sort of people might want to find out, was EAP provided? P provided. Again, we can pick the field there. We might make it mandatory and click on create. Again, you can build out as many questions here as you need. Injured person's role. Again, this is where you can contextualize the system to align with what your needs are. If you call them team members, we want you to call them team members. If you call them employees, we want you to call them employees. So set the system up. Now, if you have labour hire and you want to separate the system out, again, you can also do that within this and identify the appropriate place. Again, you might have a predominant labour hire workforce, so you might want to set them up at the top if they're the ones where injuries are occurring most of the time. Injured person lookup. So again, this is where we can sort of either break it down by, we can only see by the workplace, we can only see by the state, we can only see by the country, or we can see everybody in the organisation. If you don't want that functionality switched on, then you can select no suggestion. So you can make that sort of decision sort of internally. Injured body part, again, this is where we can create the body part. When we do create the body part, what have we got there? Might put trunk. Again, we can then go and add the subcategory, which might be fracture. Again, if we check other, or put other into the system, what that'll do is that'll open up a free text field. So if you don't capture everything, you don't need to get too concerned. By putting other in there, it'll then open up the fields for you. Again, you can go through and update all of these fields in there as you need. There's the ability to upload your risk matrix. So again, you link it up with a URL. with the external body, this is where we put the safety regulator and that information into the system. So what was keen to show you here is just sort of the ability to fully configure the system. Now, if you want access to the incident investigation log, again, this is its own module. You can sort of see there's a dark or light grey line that sits across there. So if we want to switch it off, we can revoke it, and this means that people won't be able to see that module. So save those changes that we just made there to this report form. Now what I'll do is since I've made those changes, again, with regards to the profiles, again, there's a number of options that you have. You can identify who can create, who can edit, who can delete, who can create, who can edit, who can sign off, who can view within this module, and you can also control what emails people receive. So if I look at the organizational user profiles, and if I just look at one of them as an example, if I go to incident and accident, so we can see that change has already been carried across. So incident and accident, because we've switched off the file box or the incident investigation log, this is now grayed out and not accessible. So we'd switch that back on, that would be available. But if we focus in on the incident module, again, we've got create, edit, sign off, view permissions, morph permissions. Because we're at the organizational level, because it's an organizational profile, there's the ability for people to morph down to the level below. Now, if you don't want people to be able to morph down, then you are able to update the permission here and remove the permission. What that means is that the user won't be able to see any incidents that have occurred at the levels below. So we leave them on. It's great from a notification perspective. We can control instant emails before the due date email. So it's when the investigation is scheduled to be closed on the scheduled close date. Again, that aligns with the 28 days or the 14 days that you select in the configuration. And then the after, and again, that will align with the date after notifications that you've set up within the system. Now, if you select off all records access, this will mean that the user will only be able to see workplace level. So sometimes you may have a user who you want to be able to see multiple workplaces, but you don't want them to be able to see organizational data or organizational incidents. And that might be because we know clients are sometimes storing incidents have a great level of confidentiality at the organizational level within the health and safety team. You are able to switch that button off, and that means in this instance, whilst they will log in and they'll be able to see the organization, the organizational register, they won't see any of the organizational incidents on. So we might save that change. So that's a change to the profile within the system. Now, if I just go and make sure that change is carried across to the worker, again, depending on how the profile or the worker functionality may have been changed or manipulated. Okay, cool. So we can see now that this worker, because the locks are on, has that access. So when we morph down now, we won't be able to create an incident at the organizational level. We'll have to morph down to the workplace level, but I'll sort of talk you through it as we go. So click on save. We morph down. So when we look for incidents, we might just filter for incidents and accidents. We can see that change is carried on right away. We can see we're only seeing the the workplace incident. We're not seeing the organizational ones. When we go into incident accident register, again, we're not seeing any ABC warehousing anymore because we've removed all level access. We also can't report an incident at this level. So what we need to do is we need to morph down to Brisbane or Melbourne or Sydney. And again, we can report an accident and incident here. And this will take us directly to the form. Or we can go to incident accident at this level, and that reported incident accident shown up. When we click on here, again, some of the changes that we made was the type of incident accident. So we added minor injury. Again, we also added why was first aid not provided and what was the colour of the blood. So again, one's a required field, one's not, or a mandatory field. That was how we set it up through that configuration piece. Yeah, we click on the picture and we can go through and select the appropriate needs there. We'll submit the incident. again, we'll sort of see that the information that we requested here has been requested as a mandatory field. So that's the configuration and how the system works in that instance. With regards to reporting, again, there are a number of options with reporting. So this export report up the top of the screen here will allow you to report everything that you've put into the system out of the system. In addition, we've got the reporting functionality sort of over the side here, which will allow you to go through and report accordingly. Now, if I click on accident and incident, this will report all of the incidents and accidents that have been reported at the Melbourne workplace. So incident reported, incident closed, what's open in progress. We click through here, again, we can adjust the reporting to align with what our conversation needs to be. And again, with regards to filters, again, we can filter by date range. So if we want to look at the incidents that occurred in the first 3 months of the year, we can run a report and that'll show us January, February, March. So again, great for your safety meetings if you wanted to have a conversation, look to identify trends. With regards to this this masterclass, we've drawn to the end of it. Hopefully you've been able to garner some information from what we've gone through today. There is a lot of opportunity for you to be able to build out the incident report forms and the investigation sort of pieces to align with what your operational and organisational needs are. And there's a lot of opportunity again with permissions. There is a lot of information to sort of that has been covered, and that is the reason why we've run through these webinars, so that you can go back to particular sections and hopefully mirror the actions and the conversation that we've had to hopefully replicate at your workplace. If you do have any questions, however, feel free to reach out to our support team, or alternatively touch base with your safety champion consultant if there are any questions that you have. Really do appreciate your time and sort of taking some time to better understand how the system works to help you and your business benefit with its and through its use of Safety Champion. I've just seen a question, and the question was the session recorded, and yes, it is, and hopefully be able to get back and see that. All of the webinars, masterclass webinars that we have done have been recorded, so if you do wish to access them or want more information, please let us know. Thanks again for your time. Appreciate sort of all the efforts that you're doing, and we are here to sort of support yourself. So if you do have any feedback or have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks again. Cheers.